Hi everyone, my name's Honey Hop and welcome to my first video on this channel. Either you came here just because you clicked on it and you were interested, or you looked at my Instagram post. Either way, welcome, and I hope y'all enjoy this. As you can see here, I was just putting some Sculpey over a little base that I found over at Hobby Lobby. Not sponsored, but I love that place. Make sure you add some liquid Sculpey to the base before you put it down, because it won't stick to the wood if you don't add that. Here I'm just putting down a mound for this little crystal that I have. I found it a few years ago when I was out on a hike, and I just took it home with me and meant to put it in an art project, but I never have, so here we are, like 5 or 6 years later, finally using it for what I intended. I pulled it off because I decided I wanted to reinforce it with a bit more liquid Sculpey. That stuff always comes in handy. It's always better to be safe than sorry. So for the next part, I'm going to be putting little mounds of crystals. Where I got the crystals are from this old necklace that someone gave me a while ago. And I really like this necklace. I've never really had a chance to wear it though. The only thing is that it's kind of bulky because it has 2 layers of the crystals. So I decided to just cut off one of the layers and use that for the crystals, so it's still a necklace. Don't worry, I didn't destroy it, it just doesn't have 2 layers of crystals, only 1 now. What I'm doing here is poking it into the mound, and then afterwards I'm going to squish them together so they look more uniform and less like a porcupine and more like the crystal place in Superman. I forget the name of it right now, so please forgive me. But yeah, here I go, doing it right now. I feel like it just gave it more of a natural feel instead of it just sticking out in random directions. And I went ahead and did that in a few different areas, but I didn't decide to record that part. As you can see here, I started working on the head of the creature. I just started by rolling a basic ball and adding the mound for the little snout. Usually I'd use aluminum foil so I wouldn't have to use as much Sculpey as I did, but we're currently out of it at the house, so I had to deal with this. I'm just adding some clay to the sides to build up the cheek muscles and make him look more adorable. Here you can see I'm just trying to smooth them out as much as possible for the end product. Not all things are perfect, but we try as hard as we can when sculpting to make them soft. I went ahead and added a little mouth for him, but as you'll see in the final pictures, you really can't tell that there's a mouth because all the fur covers it up. But I still went ahead and added one, just so that if you pull down the fur, you'll be able to see his little mouth smiling back at you. So I was actually originally planning on making this a kind of deer goat creature, but as I went along, I slowly started to realize that it was looking more like a bat than a deer. So not only did I completely change what creature I was making, but I actually restarted on the base. The crystal base I did after I made this head, which of course is out of order because, you know, the magic of video editing. But I originally made a little base with a log on it, which I will use in the future for a different project. Here I'm just adding some indents for the eyes, which I will make the pupils later, but for now it's just going to be holes in his head. So it was at this point that I started realizing it looked less like a deer and more like a bat. So I added these little mounds on top of and on the back of his head, and then I kind of just roughed those out as much as I could to make him look like he kind of had fur all over the top of his head. Because if you ever looked at a picture of a bat, they're kind of furry up there, especially baby bats, which is adorable, by the way. I actually went ahead and made this. After I realized it looked like a bat, I went ahead and made this for my friend Patchy because she's terrified of bats. So, you're welcome, Patchy. I just tried to open up the tool a bit because it was kind of clumping and making it look not as natural. Here we jumped ahead to when I had more on there because it'd be kind of boring to watch me do it for a very long time. I actually kind of got bored myself, but at the same time I love making rough textures like that in clay. Next, I'm just taking a ball and rolling it into a teardrop shape to kind of make the shape of the ears. And then I'll take my ball tool and press an indent into it and kind of make that kind of ear flap. I don't really know the correct terminology for it, but basically just think Yoda. That's what I was thinking. And this is when he really starts to look like a bat. At this point, even though I started to realize he looked like a bat, I was still in the deer territory. So I didn't quite make the ears look very bat-like, but they came out pretty bat-like more than deer-like, so it's kind of like a weird mix of the two. Here I'm just going in and retexturing some of the parts that I kind of squished down when I was trying to attach the ears, because despite looking easy, it's kind of rough sometimes when you don't put a toothpick in, which is what I do now so that I can hold it up instead of squishing it all down. But I just attached the ears by putting tiny little bits of toothpick in the side of his head, then covering it in liquid Sculpey and gently pressing it down. And that will just secure it more than just sticking it on the side, so there's less of a chance that it'll fall off later. Alright, so now that the head is complete, we're moving on to his little paws. I've already completed one, but here I'll show y'all how I did the second one. I kind of started off looking like the teardrop shape of the ear, but we slant it, and I decided to make two of the toes bigger and the third one a little bit smaller. So that's what you see me doing here. I just thought it added a cute effect. And these also didn't come out very bat-like, because I know bats don't have little toe pads on the bottom of them, toe beans, I think that's what they're called. But I ended up painting some on there anyway, just because I thought they were adorable. So this really ended up not being a bat, a deer, or anything. It's just kind of a weird little creature you'd find if you were out in a fantasy forest. here I'm making little tiny indents in the 2 bigger paw sections, just so I can add some cute little claws. Again, not very bat-like, I know, but I thought it would be cute. If you notice in the video, I have trouble rolling the second one because my hands were getting sticky because my Sculpey is over oily. So it was kind of sticking to my hand and tearing it apart, so I had to redo a few things a few times, but I eventually got it to a point that I liked. Here I'm just working on the wings. I just kind of made the little noodly shape, which you can see the other wing also had that. And then I rolled out a piece of Sculpey with a new pasta roller that I just recently got, and I'm so happy that I did because it's very helpful. If anyone is getting into Sculpey, I would highly suggest getting one of those. But after that, I cut out the shape of the wing and then added the like bone sections of the wing where the bat's fingers would be. So in the end piece, I just imagined him like squawing and just like screeching and raising his arms above his head, because that's what it looks like when you realize it's supposed to be a bat. But if we're taking this as like dragon wings, then that's not really how it goes. So I went ahead and made the body and the eyes off screen. And I also made this little pendant that I was originally going to add to it, but I decided not to once I got to the end, because he just looks better without it. But I basically colored everything a deep purple, and then I'm going in and adding details. For his hair, I just painted it black and then gently brushed white over the top to get kind of the highlights and stuff, and also to match the fur of his body, which you'll see in a second. Here we go, adding little toe beams that really weren't necessary, but I just thought they were cute. Alright, so here we are making the body, and as you can see, it's actually an ear off of an old stuffed animal that I had. I just didn't have any other fur laying around, and I thought it would be adorable. So I cut the ears off this stuffed animal, and I'm just hot gluing them around the base. And that made up the bulk of his body, and he's still super fluffy, and it's like the softest fur ever. Finally adding the eyes in, and they're just rolled up pieces of Sculpey that I painted black, which I made life a lot more difficult for myself because I have black Sculpey. But I forgot about it, so I just made them out of white Sculpey and then painted them black, which was torture, but it worked, so hey. Alright, here we go, finally adding the head to the body. I was just positioning it here, and then I go ahead and add some hot glue and press it in there to keep it in place. Hopefully forever. But, you know, things fall apart over time. And now came the tricky part, because I forgot to add holes and toothpicks for the wings and feet and everything, so I just kind of had to hot glue it to the fur, which if you've ever hot glued something to fur, you probably know that it doesn't go very well. I went ahead and just did that and then glued it to the ear for support. And here I've just painted the base completely gray, and then I went ahead and added some spots of white to kind of add some texture. And then after that, I went in and even more with a dry sponge dotted some more dots to look like little pebbles or spots. Because bats, as you know, they live in caves. So this is supposed to kind of be like a crystal cavernous type place. Originally, I was going to paint some of the crystals like purple or blue or something, but in the end, I decided to just leave it natural as it is, because that's what you would find in a real cave. finally adding the bat to his little house. As you can see, I had already glued some rocks around because, you know, rocks are found in caves. But now I'm just adding a few more to kind of try and hide some of the hot glue that's on there. And some of the open spots in the crystals. Now I'm just adding the feet because I didn't have a way to attach him to the body, so I just glued him straight to the base, and it works because of how fluffy he is. For my final details, I just took a bit of Sculpey glass glaze and brushed it over the parts that I thought would shine. So that included the eyes, the nose, the claws, and some of the rocks just as an added shine. I believe I went in and painted the ears and the wings as well, just for the heck of it. And I think it turned out pretty well. As you can see, there's a little rock down there covered in glitter because I was debating on adding glitter to some of the rocks, but in the end I decided to keep it more quote-unquote realistic. Not that this is very realistic, but yeah. So here's the finished piece, and I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Enjoy the pictures, and if you want to see simple ones without my voice and video, go over to my Instagram, honey.hop, and that'll be it. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.